Have you ever felt stuck, juggling multiple responsibilities but struggling to find balance? Maybe you've set ambitious goals in the past, only to lose focus or motivation along the way. Starting with any goal, whether it's earning a certification, improving your health, or rebuilding relationships, can be a powerful way to develop discipline and transform your life. The beauty lies not just in reaching the goal, but in the journey. Learning to plan, adapt, and gather insights that ultimately build a solid foundation for holistic growth. Now, imagine creating a comprehensive life plan that aligns with your values, strengthens your relationships, and helps you achieve lasting fulfillment. This isn't just a dream, it's a step-by-step process grounded in timeless wisdom, like the Stoic philosophy practiced by figures such as Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. These principles, though ancient, remain incredibly relevant to modern life. In this video, we'll explore 7 actionable steps to build an unstoppable character and design a balanced, meaningful life. From overcoming struggles to aligning your goals with a greater purpose, every step is crafted to empower you with clarity and confidence. Stay with us until the end for a clear roadmap that can change your perspective and your future. Do you have experiences or tips on building a life plan? Share your story in the comments to inspire others. Your journey could be the motivation someone else needs today. 1. Create a holistic life plan. Life is a balancing act. Many of us chase success in one area, like our careers, only to realize later that we've neglected other equally vital aspects, such as family, health, or personal growth. The idea of creating a holistic life plan is not about perfection, but about achieving a sense of harmony, ensuring that every part of our life supports and enriches others. Over-optimizing in one direction often leads to imbalance, leaving us feeling empty despite our achievements. The Stoics, known for their timeless wisdom, emphasized living by nature. For them, nature wasn't just the environment, it was the essence of a well-lived life. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of order and balance, reminding us that a life lived in chaos cannot sustain happiness or peace. By organizing our lives and aligning them with what truly matters, we can not only achieve but sustain fulfillment. Let me share a story about someone who learned this the hard way. A CEO of a thriving company once confided that, for years, he had poured his energy into growing his business. His workdays stretched into nights, and weekends became mere extensions of the work week. He thought this dedication defined success, but over time, he noticed something missing. Moments with his wife, his children's milestones, and even the quiet satisfaction of sharing a simple meal with family. One evening, as he reviewed yet another proposal late at night, he glanced at a photo of his family on his desk. It struck him that the people in the picture felt like strangers. Determined to change, he did something extraordinary for someone in his position. He restructured his schedule. He began leaving the office earlier, setting aside non-negotiable time for dinner with his family, and actively participating in weekend activities. Initially, this decision felt counterproductive. He worried about losing his edge in business. But as the weeks turned into months, he discovered something unexpected. His time with his family didn't diminish his professional achievements. It enhanced them. Reconnecting with his loved ones gave him clarity and renewed energy, which he brought back into his work. He wasn't just leading a company, he was living a balanced life. Now imagine yourself in his place. Perhaps you felt the pull of competing priorities, career versus health, relationships versus personal goals. How often do we sacrifice one for the other, thinking it's a necessary trade-off? The truth is, creating a life plan isn't about choosing between these aspects. It's about aligning them. Start with a simple tool like the Life Balance Wheel. Take time to evaluate your current priorities and identify the areas that need attention. Maybe you're excelling in your career, but feel disconnected from your partner. Or perhaps your health has taken a back seat while you focus on financial goals. Recognize the imbalance, then take small, consistent steps to address it. The Stoics remind us that balance is a virtue. Seneca wrote extensively on the importance of moderation, not as a constraint, but as a path to freedom. By balancing our lives, we free ourselves from the anxiety of extremes, the fear of failing in one area because we've overinvested in another. If your life feels out of sync, remember this: balance doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of constant reflection and adjustment. Begin with small changes, like dedicating 30 minutes a day to an activity that brings you joy, whether it's a walk, a conversation with a loved one, or simply sitting in silence. Over time, these small acts create a ripple effect, bringing harmony to every part of your life. Life's unpredictability often forces us to reevaluate our plans, but that doesn't mean giving up on balance. It means adapting. A holistic life plan isn't rigid. It evolves with you. The Stoics teach us that resilience lies not in resisting change, but in embracing it with grace and wisdom. Imagine the possibilities if you allowed yourself to pursue a life where work, relationships, and personal growth complement each other. This balance is not just an idea, it's a journey that shapes your character. So how about you? Has life ever forced you to change your plans unexpectedly? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. Your experience could help someone else find the balance they're searching for. 2. Turning tiny wins into big transformations. Change often feels like a mountain we cannot climb. When the goal ahead appears too daunting, we find ourselves hesitating, unsure of where to begin. The idea of transformation, whether it's improving our health, relationships, or mindset, can seem overwhelming. But what if the secret isn't in scaling the entire mountain at once, but in taking the first step? Building an unstoppable character doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with small, consistent victories. These tiny wins accumulate, growing into habits that ultimately reshape our lives and strengthen our resolve. This is where Stoic philosophy offers timeless guidance. Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, believed that transformation lies in daily effort. For the Stoics, excellence wasn't achieved overnight, but through deliberate, incremental progress. They taught that mastering small actions today builds the discipline needed for greater achievements tomorrow. Stoicism reminds us that change isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And every small victory moves us closer to becoming the person we aspire to be. A friend of mine once shared his journey of wanting to read more. He admired people who could finish books effortlessly, but often felt defeated by the size of his unread collection. Instead of aiming to finish an entire book in a day, he began with something manageable, reading just 10 pages before bed each night. Slowly, this became a habit. As the weeks passed, he increased the number of pages to 20, then 30, until reading became a natural part of his routine. What began as a small commitment evolved into a deeply ingrained habit that enriched his knowledge and perspective. The victory wasn't in reading dozens of books overnight, but in the discipline he built daily. It wasn't just about finishing books. It was about reshaping how he approached his time and goals. Now imagine yourself in a similar situation. Perhaps there's something you've always wanted to improve, your fitness, your relationships, or a skill you've been meaning to learn. Starting small might feel insignificant at first, but that's where its power lies. If you've struggled to stay active, begin with 5 minutes of stretching in the morning. If you've wanted to deepen your connections with loved ones, send a thoughtful message each day. These tiny efforts are like planting seeds. Water them consistently, and over time, they grow into something remarkable. Stoicism frames these actions as essential to building character. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often wrote about the value of persistence in small tasks. He understood that discipline in the seemingly mundane strengthens our resolve for life's greater challenges. A Stoic approach to change isn't about achieving everything at once, but about aligning your daily actions with the person you want to become. This mindset also fosters inner peace, as it shifts your focus from uncontrollable outcomes to the process itself, something within your grasp. Here's how to start. Choose one habit that aligns with your larger goals. Make it simple and specific, something so achievable that you can't fail. Commit to it for a week, with no exceptions. If you're learning a new skill, practice for 10 minutes a day. If you want to save money, set aside a small amount consistently. If you're trying to improve your health, start by adding 1 glass of water to your daily routine. The key is consistency, not intensity. Progress doesn't come from doing something once. It comes from showing up every day, no matter how small the effort. Once you build momentum, the victories compound. Success in one area gives you confidence to tackle another. These small wins serve as a reminder that change is within your reach, even when the bigger picture feels unclear. Each tiny step creates a ripple effect, gradually transforming not only your habits but your mindset. This cascading transformation is what builds an unstoppable character, one rooted in resilience, discipline, and clarity. Life often tests our patience, but Stoicism teaches us that patience and perseverance are the roots of lasting change. The mountain may seem vast, but every step forward brings you closer to the summit. When you commit to small actions, you take control of your journey, proving to yourself that growth is always possible. This steady progress is how you move beyond temporary resolutions and create a life defined by purpose and strength. Have you ever struggled to start something new? How did you overcome it? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could inspire someone to take their first step toward transformation today. 3. Turning struggles into strength. Life is full of moments that test us. Struggles often feel like barriers, immovable, overwhelming, and insurmountable. When we face challenges such as loss, failure, or betrayal, it's easy to spiral into despair and lose sight of any path forward. But what if these struggles weren't walls blocking us, but doors leading to growth? What if adversity was not the end, but the beginning of something better? Building an unstoppable character means learning to see struggles as opportunities to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Stoic philosophy has long taught that adversity is not an obstacle, but a tool. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." To the Stoics, struggles are not punishments but invitations to grow. They challenge us to refine our character, test our principles, and deepen our understanding of life. Instead of fearing difficulty, they encourage us to embrace it with courage and purpose. I remember a childhood friend who faced one of the hardest struggles life can throw at someone: divorce. The separation left him broken, filled with anger, sadness, and a deep sense of failure. His life, which once seemed stable, felt shattered. He spent days questioning everything, stuck in a loop of regret and resentment. But amidst this turmoil, he made a decision. He reached out to people who cared about him, friends, family, and even a counselor. He started with small actions, talking about his feelings, reflecting on what went wrong, and seeking new ways to rebuild his life. Over time, he learned to accept what had happened, let go of the pain, and focus on moving forward. That struggle transformed him. It gave him a clarity he never had before, a renewed sense of self-worth, and the strength to face life with resilience. His story isn't unique, and that's what makes it powerful. Imagine yourself in a moment of deep struggle. Perhaps it's a job loss, the end of a significant relationship, or a personal failure. It's easy to feel consumed by the weight of the challenge, to let it define you. But what if instead, you saw it as an opportunity? What if, like my friend, you chose to face the pain head-on and use it as a stepping stone to rebuild your life? The Stoics offer wisdom for this. They remind us that while we cannot control external events, we can control how we respond. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. When adversity strikes, the first step is to accept reality. Fighting it only deepens the wound. Once we accept the situation, we can focus on what is within our power: our actions, our perspective, and our choices. The struggle becomes a forge, shaping us into stronger, more capable individuals. If you're wondering how to turn your struggles into strength, start by breaking the challenge into manageable steps. Take one small action to regain control. If you've experienced a setback at work, focus on updating your resume or reaching out to someone in your network. If you're dealing with a personal loss, consider journaling your thoughts or speaking to someone you trust. Each action, no matter how small, builds momentum. And with each step, you reclaim a piece of your strength. Adversity often reveals strengths we didn't know we had. It forces us to grow in ways comfort never could. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most. Were those moments easy, or did they come from facing challenges head-on? Struggles test our limits, but they also expand them. They show us what we're capable of and remind us that even in our darkest moments, there's a light to be found. Turning struggles into strength doesn't mean the pain disappears. The Stoics never promised that life would be free of hardship. Instead, they showed us how to navigate through it with dignity and purpose. The key is to focus on what lies beyond the struggle. The growth, the resilience, and the wisdom that come from enduring life's trials. Next time you face a challenge, remember that it's not a punishment or a dead end. It's an opportunity to build your character, refine your values, and become stronger. Adversity, as painful as it may feel, is life's way of teaching us. When we embrace it with courage, we come out not just alive, but transformed. What about you? What do you think is the most important factor in overcoming life's challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who might find strength in your story. 4. Align your goals with greater purpose. We often find ourselves caught in the rhythm of daily life, working hard, meeting deadlines, and chasing goals we believe are important. But every now and then, a question arises. Why am I doing this? If the answer feels hollow or unclear, it can leave us unmotivated and disconnected. The truth is, goals lose their power when they lack purpose. A purpose-driven goal, on the other hand, fuels our determination and connects us to something greater than ourselves. Building an unstoppable character requires aligning our goals with a higher purpose, one that gives them depth and meaning. This concept is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, emphasized living virtuously and contributing to the common good. To the Stoics, a life without purpose was like a ship without a compass, adrift and vulnerable to the whims of fate. They taught that when we tie our ambitions to something larger than ourselves, be it serving our community, supporting loved ones, or creating lasting value, we find enduring motivation and fulfillment. Let me share a story about a neighbor of mine. For years, he worked tirelessly in a high-paying corporate job. He had everything society would deem successful: a big house, luxury cars, and financial stability. Yet, something always seemed to be missing. He often spoke about how he felt a lack of purpose, as though his efforts were meaningless beyond a paycheck. One day, everything changed. He decided to dedicate part of his time to mentoring young professionals in his field, offering guidance to those just starting out. The shift was remarkable. While his job remained the same, his purpose became clear. By aligning his work with a goal that impacted others, he felt energized and deeply fulfilled. Now think about your own goals. Are they aligned with something meaningful to you? Or do they feel disconnected from your values? Imagine yourself setting a goal, not just for personal gain, but for the benefit of others. Perhaps you've always wanted to improve your health, not just for your well-being, but to be there for your family in the long run. Maybe you've considered starting a small business, not only to achieve financial freedom, but to serve your community in a meaningful way. When you tie your ambitions to something greater, you transform your goals from tasks to missions. The Stoics believed that aligning goals with purpose anchors us during challenges. Life will test our resolve, but when we know why we're doing something, we find the strength to persevere. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, often reflected on how his actions contributed to the greater whole. For him, duty and purpose were inseparable. He understood that focusing on the collective good, rather than personal gain alone, creates a legacy that outlasts our immediate efforts. To align your goals with purpose, start by asking yourself what truly matters to you. Write down the things you value most: family, community, creativity, or even personal growth. Then, evaluate your current goals. Do they reflect these values? If not, consider how you can reshape them. For example, if you're pursuing a career advancement, think about how your success can inspire others or contribute to your industry. If your goal is to save for retirement, envision how that financial stability will allow you to support causes you care about or spend meaningful time with loved ones. When you align your goals with purpose, obstacles feel less daunting. Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, you view them as opportunities to prove your commitment to something bigger. Each step you take becomes more intentional, and every success, no matter how small, carries a deeper sense of accomplishment. Purpose doesn't just motivate us, it defines the impact we leave on the world. Aligning goals with greater purpose is how you transform ambition into legacy. It's how you wake up every day with clarity, knowing that your efforts matter. Stoicism teaches us that true fulfillment doesn't come from fleeting rewards, but from living in service of something enduring. When your goals align with your values and contribute to the world around you, you build not just an unstoppable character, but a meaningful life. What do you think? What's the most important factor in aligning goals with purpose? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your insights could inspire someone else to make their goals more meaningful. 5. Let go to level up. Growth often requires making tough choices. Sometimes the things we hold on to, whether they are habits, relationships, or routines, can keep us from moving forward. Letting go is never easy. It feels like a loss. But in reality, letting go creates space for new opportunities, ideas, and personal growth. To build an unstoppable character, you must learn when to release what no longer serves you and embrace the freedom to evolve. This principle resonates deeply with Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed in detachment, not as a way to distance oneself from life, but to focus only on what truly matters. Epictetus often reminded his students to differentiate between what they can control and what they cannot. Holding on to what is beyond our control, whether it's past mistakes, toxic relationships, or unhealthy habits, only creates unnecessary suffering. Letting go of these attachments allows us to focus on what is within our power, creating clarity and peace. I once worked alongside a colleague who epitomized this idea. He was brilliant at his job but constantly felt overwhelmed. His desk was piled with tasks he couldn't delegate because he believed no one could match his standards. Over time, this perfectionism became his undoing. He worked late hours, missed important moments with his family, and carried an air of frustration that impacted his relationships. One day, after a particularly stressful week, he decided to make a change. He began delegating tasks, trusting his team, and setting boundaries with his work hours. It wasn't easy for him. Letting go of control felt unnatural. But over time, he found himself less burdened, more focused on high-priority work, and happier both at the office and at home. By releasing his need for perfection, he leveled up in every area of his life. Now picture yourself in his shoes. Is there something you're holding on to that no longer serves you? It could be an old grudge, a habit that drains your energy, or even an environment that limits your potential. Imagine what might change if you let it go. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about making room for growth. Maybe you've been clinging to a job that no longer aligns with your values, fearing the uncertainty of starting over. Or perhaps you've stayed in a relationship that stifles your growth out of comfort or habit. Letting go can be scary, but it's also liberating. It's the first step toward building the life you truly want. The Stoics teach us that the only constant in life is change, and resisting it only leads to frustration. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." To embrace change, you must first let go of what holds you back. It's like pruning a tree. By cutting away dead branches, you give it space to grow stronger and healthier. The same applies to our lives. When you release what no longer serves you, you create room for transformation. To start this process, take a moment to reflect on areas of your life that feel stagnant or unfulfilling. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to out of fear or habit? Write it down. Next, visualize what your life could look like without that weight. How would it feel to let go? Then take one small action toward releasing it. If it's a toxic relationship, begin by setting a boundary. If it's a habit that drains you, replace it with a positive one. Letting go doesn't happen all at once. It's a process of consistent, intentional steps. Each time you let go of something unhelpful, you strengthen your ability to adapt and grow. You reclaim energy that can be redirected toward your goals and passions. And with every step, you move closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. Growth requires courage. It asks you to face discomfort and uncertainty, to trust that what lies ahead is greater than what you're leaving behind. Stoicism reminds us that we are not defined by what we lose, but by how we respond to change. By letting go, you empower yourself to rise above limitations and create a life of purpose and resilience. What about you? Is there something in your life you need to let go of to move forward? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else to take that brave first step toward growth. 6. Commit to responsibility without overload. Responsibility is the foundation of growth and fulfillment. It gives life meaning and purpose, pushing us to become better for ourselves and those who depend on us. But responsibility can also feel heavy, like a weight pressing on our shoulders, especially when we take on too much. Many of us struggle to find balance, trying to juggle work, family, and personal aspirations without burning out. The challenge is learning how to embrace responsibility while setting boundaries to protect our energy and focus. This principle aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy. The Stoics taught that responsibility is not about taking on everything, but about focusing on what is within our control. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, reflected deeply on this balance. He believed in doing his duty without being consumed by the chaos of what lay beyond his power. By prioritizing what mattered most, he demonstrated that responsibility could be both manageable and fulfilling. The Stoic approach reminds us that while we must embrace responsibility, we are not obligated to carry the entire world on our backs. A friend of mine comes to mind when I think of this. He was a dedicated father, a hardworking professional, and someone who always said yes when asked for help. From the outside, he seemed like the kind of person who had everything under control. But beneath the surface, the weight of endless responsibilities wore him down. He rarely had time for himself, and his health began to suffer. Eventually, he realized that to truly fulfill his responsibilities, he had to set limits. He started by identifying his priorities: his family, his health, and his career. Everything else, the favors, the extra work, the unnecessary commitments, had to take a back seat. It wasn't easy for him to say no, but as he let go of the excess, he found himself better able to focus on what truly mattered. His relationships improved, his stress levels dropped, and his sense of purpose grew stronger. Now consider your own life. Are you taking on too much? Do you feel overwhelmed by a never-ending list of responsibilities? Imagine shifting your focus. Instead of trying to do everything, you concentrate on a few key areas where your actions have the most impact. If you're a parent, this might mean spending quality time with your children rather than constantly worrying about providing more. If you're managing a career, it could mean streamlining your efforts to focus on what truly advances your goals. When you prioritize, you regain control over your time and energy, allowing you to give your best where it matters most. The Stoics would advise us to practice the discipline of letting go. Responsibility, they believed, is about doing your part with intention and clarity, not exhausting yourself by chasing perfection or worrying about what lies beyond your power. Epictetus often reminded his students to accept their limits and work diligently within them. He believed that true strength comes from focusing on what we can control and releasing the rest. If you're feeling overburdened, take a step back and reassess. Write down your responsibilities and ask yourself, which ones truly align with my values and long-term goals? Are there tasks or obligations that could be delegated or even eliminated? Once you've identified your core responsibilities, set boundaries to protect them. For example, if family time is a priority, establish rules like no work emails after dinner. If your health matters most, block out time for exercise or relaxation, even if it means saying no to other demands. Embracing responsibility doesn't mean taking on more. It means being intentional about what you choose to carry. When you commit to fewer things with greater focus, you not only fulfill your duties better, but also preserve your energy and peace of mind. This balance allows you to grow without burning out, strengthening your character and deepening your sense of purpose. Life will always demand more of us, but how we respond is within our control. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in clarity and focus. By committing to responsibility without overload, you can build a life of resilience, meaning, and harmony. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing what matters most and doing it well. 7. Take action to rebuild hope. When life becomes overwhelming, hope is often the first casualty. Despair creeps in when progress feels impossible, and even the simplest tasks seem insurmountable. But here's the truth. Hope isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. By taking small, deliberate actions, you can rekindle the spark of optimism and create a path forward. Building an unstoppable character means understanding that action, even in the smallest measure, is the antidote to despair. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of action as a remedy for inaction and hopelessness. He believed that waiting for ideal circumstances was futile. The time to act is always now. To the Stoics, the present moment is all we have control over, and it's within this moment that we must take the first step, no matter how small. They taught that action not only drives change, but also restores a sense of agency and purpose in our lives. I'll share a personal story to illustrate this. A few years ago, I found myself at one of the lowest points in my life. A major project I had poured my heart into failed, leaving me not only financially strained, but emotionally depleted. For weeks, I felt paralyzed, unsure of how to move forward. The fear of another failure loomed over every decision. But one morning, I made a choice. I didn't wait for clarity or motivation. I just acted. I started by organizing my workspace, clearing the clutter that mirrored the chaos in my mind. The act itself seemed insignificant, but it created a shift. From there, I committed to sending out one email a day to reconnect with my professional network. Slowly, these small actions gained momentum. Opportunities began to reappear, and so did my confidence. What once felt like an impossible climb became manageable, one step at a time. Now, imagine yourself in a similar situation. Perhaps you faced a setback, a failed business venture, a broken relationship, or a missed opportunity. In these moments, it's easy to feel stuck, as though life has come to a standstill. But what if you didn't wait for hope to find you? What if instead you created it? Start small. Take one action, however trivial it may seem. It could be making a phone call, writing a list of goals, or even going for a short walk to clear your mind. Each step forward, no matter how tiny, rebuilds your sense of purpose and control. The Stoics remind us that action is inherently tied to resilience. Epictetus believed that our power lies not in controlling outcomes, but in choosing how we respond. By focusing on what we can do in the moment, we free ourselves from the weight of uncertainty. Small actions remind us that progress is possible, even when the larger picture feels out of reach. This focus on manageable steps is what transforms despair into hope. If you're looking to rebuild hope, begin with something within your immediate grasp. Is there a conversation you've been avoiding? A task you've been putting off? Taking action doesn't require grand gestures. It's about movement, however incremental. If you've been feeling isolated, reach out to a friend or join a community group. If your finances are causing stress, take a closer look at your budget and identify one small change you can make. These actions may not solve the entire problem overnight, but they set the stage for forward momentum. Rebuilding hope is like lighting a fire in the darkness. At first, the spark may seem faint, but with each action, it grows brighter and stronger. The process itself is empowering. It reminds you that, despite setbacks, you have the strength to create change. Every step you take is a declaration that you refuse to be defined by failure or fear. Stoicism teaches us that hope isn't passive, it's active. It's a choice we make every day, in the way we show up and the decisions we take. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be discouraged. Begin with what you have. The smallest step forward can be a victory." These words echo through centuries, reminding us that we are not powerless, no matter how dire the circumstances may seem. If you're feeling stuck right now, take a moment to reflect on one small action you can take today. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to solve everything. The point is to move, to remind yourself that you are capable of progress. Hope isn't something distant. It's something you build, one choice at a time. Life is a journey of constant growth, and the path to building an unstoppable character is paved with deliberate, consistent effort. Through the lessons we've explored, creating balance, embracing small wins, turning struggles into strength, aligning your goals with purpose, letting go of what holds you back, committing to responsibility with intention, and taking action to rebuild hope, you have the tools to transform your life. These aren't just concepts to admire. They're practical steps to practice each day. The Stoic philosophers remind us that true strength lies in discipline, clarity, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. They urge us to focus on what we can control and to approach each challenge with determination and grace. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require perfection. Each small step, each thoughtful action brings you closer to becoming the person you aspire to be. By practicing these principles daily, you create a foundation of mental toughness, emotional resilience, and inner peace that will carry you through life's storms. Take a moment today to reflect on one idea that resonated with you. How can you apply it to your life, starting now? Perhaps it's letting go of a habit that no longer serves you, or taking a small step toward a long-term goal. Every action matters. Your journey is unique, but your story can inspire others. Share your experiences in the comments below. What challenges have you overcome, and what practices have helped you grow? Together, we can build a community of resilience and strength, one small step at a time.